Wonderful. So really excited to be talking about Bhutan and diving into it. So let me get started. Um, just for anyone who's new on the call, I see we have quite a few alumni on here, so welcome back. Really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about one of our, I feel like, most unique destinations that we travel to. But at Discover Core, we operate in over 20 different countries, and all of our trips are really unique. And so we try to host these, at least once a month. Now we're trying to get up to twice a month webinars where we dive deeper into our itineraries. We can learn, directly from people on the ground or from alumni. We try to switch it up. Sometimes we bring community partners, but this is just an opportunity for us to really learn more about the destination and make sure that it's, a trip that's right for you. So a little bit about myself, I'm a travel specialist at Discover Core. That means I focus more on the sales side and knowing all of our itineraries intimately so that I can fit you into the right trip. Um, like I mentioned, I haven't had the benefit of going to Bhutan. It's like one of the top on my list. But I've been traveling since I was really young. My first time on a plane was to India when I was 13. I'm originally Canadian, if you can hear my accent come out sometimes. Um, but I currently live in Costa Rica. That's where my husband is from, and I've resided here for about 5 years. And more recently with Discover Core, I've traveled to Baja, Mexico, Peru, Alaska, and more, but have of course traveled myself and worked in previous locations. So that's a little bit about me. And now I'm going to hand it over to our Bhutan director to introduce herself. And if you can tell us a little bit more about your background and what you got you into doing, tourism. And yeah, it would be great.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Lynne, for this opportunity to meet everybody. So my name is Singye, and my husband and I work together. It's a husband and wife run travel company in Bhutan. So initially, I was not a travel agent, travel director. I was actually a business student. So I came back home. I actually studied in Canada, Lynn. I don't know if you know
What?
this.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
four
Tell me
years of
where.
4 years of university in the East Coast in this really small town in
What?
Canada, in Halifax.
In Halifax? No way. That's
Yes.
amazing. Okay.
So then, so I came back after university. I was working in the government in a holding company. So, completely different, studying finance, you know,
Mm,
and accounting. And after about 8 years, I met my husband, and we wanted to work together, and we were wondering what we wanted to work in. We both enjoyed traveling, seeing new places, meeting new people. So this happened, I think, 2000 and about 7, 8. So we
mhm.
started a company together, and we've been started small. We wanted to keep it small. We didn't want to grow. We don't want to become a big just commercial company. We wanted to be small. We wanted to focus specialized holidays. So if that's why even with Discover Corps, I know you plan very special like family holidays or even smaller groups. So that's what we do as well at Brook Heritage Tours. We don't handle too many large groups. It's small
Mhm.
specialized groups. So whether it's a family holiday or wellness group or a student group that where they want to learn, a very immersive sort of vacation. So that's
Yeah.
how Brook Heritage came into being as something that we wanted to do together. And now, of course, we've had about 2 decades of experience managing the company. So yeah, I
Wow.
think.
That's pretty awesome. I love to hear about like the family partnerships as well. And I've had a chance to meet your husband. And when we had our Bhutan training with him, I got off the call and was like, wow, like I feel like I went through like a meditation or something. Like you guys both have just such an amazing energy. And I really can't wait to meet you both in person. And what a beautiful project you've built together. So just hats off and really excited for everyone on the call to learn more about like what this experience actually entails. Um, just so kind of context before we hop into the questions, I wanted to give everyone just some screenshots from our itinerary. For anyone who doesn't have access to this already, I can send it to you. It's also, you can download it online. But this is a 9 day, 8 night itinerary. And this is a little bit of like a map of some of the main cities that we go to, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, just wanted everyone to kind of get the context on how long the trip is and some of the areas that we're going to be traveling to. But yeah, want to hop into it. So, Singye, can you describe a typical day on this adventure through Bhutan? And by the way, a lot of these photos have been provided by, our team on the ground, and from our alumni, you can see one of the family members. So just wanted to highlight that as well.
Okay, do you want me to go through the itinerary or just
Maybe just a typical day, like some of the highlight moments. You don't have to go through it all, but would be good to
okay.
know kind of like the
It's
feeling that.
so okay, sorry. On this itinerary, we visit about four locations in I mean, sorry, in Bhutan, and it's mainly in the west coast. We travel to Thimphu, Paro, Punakha, and Phobjikha. These are the first four locations that you will see, all very beautiful. It's mainly focused on the western part of Bhutan. So obviously, Thimphu is the capital city. You've on the day of arrival, you arrive in Paro, but you transit straight into Thimphu, which is the capital city. Thimphu is a bit different. I think you'll be a bit shocked when you arrive in Thimphu because you don't expect to see as many cars and no, not skyscrapers, but more buildings around, more people around because that's the capital city. The government offices are there, the king's residence is there. So it's more you find more people like the little I wouldn't call it a city, but it's a big
Mm,
town. It's a big town.
mhm,
And then as you go through your program, you travel to Punakha. Punakha used to be the old capital of Bhutan. It's, I would say, one of the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful valleys of Bhutan. We have the famous Pochu and Mochu. It's two of our biggest and most famous rivers, and they converge and go around the Punakha Dzong, and that's where the king's office in Punakha, the residence of the monastic body is, and it's beautiful. They have it's a very good area to do adventure sports. So we have White River water rafting, kayaking. We have mountain biking. So for those adventure sports, Punakha is a really good location, and you have beautiful, beautiful paddy fields. You know, so the valley itself is very beautiful, very spiritual, very holy as well, because it was the Punakha Dzong is one of the older dzongs of Bhutan, so it's very beautiful. And then Paro, of course, that so the history behind Paro is that as Bhutan, as the government was relocating the capital from Punakha to Thimphu, they moved towards Paro because it was one of the most wider valleys. So that's how the airport came into being. So that's
mm,
why Paro is very nice. And also, of course, Paro is one of the holiest places in Bhutan. As you all know, Paro Taksang is based, the tiger's nest is based in Paro. So that is
mhm,
one of the must-see locations while you're in Paro. Again, Paro is very beautiful. When you arrive, I always say this even when I go back home from a holiday, when I get off the plane and the plane door opens and we start getting off, I take this deep breath, and I'm like, the air is just different, the energy is just
mm,
different. I can't explain it to you. You have to come to
mhm,
Bhutan, you have to visit Bhutan. You just feel this energy.
mhm,
And in Paro, when you're going around these monasteries, especially Taksang, it's really special. The whole area just vibrates with this
mm,
holy energy. And
mhm.
I had many, many visitors who visited Taksang, and they felt this deep sort of sense of vibration, this energy within themselves, and they get so overwhelmed, so emotional. I, I,
Yeah.
I I don't know what exactly is happening, but they come out feeling so peaceful, so happy. maybe they've had some sort of connection inside themselves. I don't know what it is. I've not spoken about it, but don't disturb. Sorry, my children are disturbing.
No problem. No problem.
So Paro is it's one of the holiest places for Bhutanese because of the Paro Taksang. And so in all of these, I was just describing these areas, but a typical day usually starts with, you visit one of these many sites in any of these locations. But what we do at Druk Heritage that is separates us from others, also keeping in, remembering that Discover Corps also, it's not a typical itinerary schedule. We do unique things, like, for example, in Thimphu, you have a session with the GNH Center where the guests
Mhm,
get to interact, learn about the GNH philosophy of Bhutan, which is unique only to Bhutan. Um,
mhm,
there's this, I think you'll show it later on, the picture of Larissa and her family with monks in Bhutan, and where
mhm,
we do a cleansing spiritual session for them. And it's a very you don't have to, it's not religious, it's just spiritual cleansing. They have that with the monks. Then they have a spiritual sort of, if they have any questions they want to ask, if they want to learn about Buddhism. But again, like I said, it's not religious or religion, they just talk about spirituality. So all these little sort of activities that we do along the trip that makes it different. It's not just, oh, you go from one site to another. So it's very
sure.
immersive. Like
Mhm,
when we visit Pobjika Valley, the guests go to a community school. They meet
mhm,
children like Larissa and her family. She especially enjoyed this. She thought it was important for her children to see, kids
mhm,
outside of her home, America or Paris, wherever. So to meet children, and then to learn about, how they travel to come to school every day. Some of them walk, 2 hours, some half an hour, and they walk
mhm,
and they go to school, and the sort of the struggle to have an education, to study, the desire or motivation from these children to get a education. So it's not just,
mhm.
like I said, going from site to site or location to location. It's meeting people, learning their stories, living lives with them. They go to their houses, eat a meal with them, or cook with them. So I think that's what's
Yeah.
different about us and this tour.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I'm glad you mentioned the school because, a lot of what we do at Discover Core, like you mentioned, is we try to do a different kind of tourism that's a lot more like behind the scenes, a lot more personal. And that might even have like some sort of like volunteer element or, like a hands-on sort of experience and meeting like people from there and engaging. So I think you did a great job kind of like explaining that. And I see that there's already some questions into the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. So we'll try to do our best to handle them. But feel free to anyone on the call already that you can type in any of your questions, but we'll save them till the end. Um, so you kind of, I think you already answered this, so I can move on just on a little bit about each of these cities and what people can expect, and already learned a lot from you. So you mentioned the Tiger's Nest, and how this is a highlight for many people in Bhutan, and here's Larissa again with her family there. But I'm curious what else, makes this site so special and, what, some people have said like a life-changing experience. You highlighted it a little bit already, but love to learn more about this monastery. Hmm.
Okay, so the tiger's nest is very important to Bhutanese because it's one of the holiest places in Bhutan. So there's one
Hmm.
in Paro, there's one in Bumtang, that's in central Bhutan. But Paro, it's where Bhutan's main deity, the Guru Rinpoche. So if you're Buddhist, you'll know it's the Guru the Padmasambhava. So he's
Hmm.
supposed to have come and subdued a demon, and that's why the monastery is built. So the demon is
Hmm.
supposed to be subdued under the monastery. So, and it's where he's supposed to have meditated. But for Bhutanese, it's a place of not just worship. It's a place of a history of your connection. And it's like I said, it's a very holy place for Bhutan. We go there, we make offerings. Like if you're in Bhutan and if you go on a holy day, you see the path, the line of people, it's going to be like it would take you hours to climb Taksang, because it's that holy, it's that important to every Bhutanese. It's not just a monastery, it's something that we worship. So
Hmm.
in that sense, it's important to every Bhutanese. But for visitors, I think it's important that you visit because it's an iconic location. You Larissa and her family are at the mid viewpoint, so this is where, of course, a lot of all the photographs get taken. So it's an iconic location. It's like you can't come to Bhutan and not see the
Not
Parotak.
take this picture.
Yeah. Or you have to come at least midway to this location. So what we usually recommend is, if you can't hike the full way, you at least walk up halfway, you take that photograph, and then, if it's a bit
Relax.
too stressful for the clients.
Sure. No, that's awesome. It looks incredible. I can only imagine the feeling of like getting up to that viewpoint and being able to see it.
Oh,
Um,
can I just
yeah, of course.
say a joke? So
Sure.
there's this Indian comedian. So he said this joke about how when he visited India, he was, on his trip to Taksang, and he met a lot of guests, tourists, and he said, "Oh, am I close by? Is it worth it?" And everybody said, "Oh, it's beautiful. You must, like, please don't give up, and you have to go." And then he said he met a group of tourists, Indian tourists. So he asked in his own language, "Oh, should I go? Is it worth it?" And in typical, I don't know if you would understand the Indian language, but they said, "Oh, it's only it's a monastery only. You go back." So the Indians told him to go back. So he said, "Oh, don't listen to the Indians. You have to go and uh, you have to go and visit it because it is iconic. Please don't listen to it.
Right.
If you meet Indian guests, don't listen to them. You must visit.
You
You
must
know,
go. That's awesome. No, it's so true. No, I mean it looks iconic, and I feel like it's on the level of like a Machu Picchu situation too. Like of course it gets a lot of attraction. There's a lot of people and everything, but it's such a remarkable place. It would feel like silly to go all that way and not be able to see it. So no, that's hilarious. What comedian do you remember the name?
I don't remember, but he's a stand-up comedian.
Okay, okay, okay. We'll have to ping you later for it. Um, no, and I wanted to talk because this is something that often comes up as a question for people who are inquiring about Bhutan of just, the variety of activities, there's hiking, cultural tours, community visits. So is this suitable for families? I mean, as you can see in the picture there, we have Larissa with her family. But what about like fitness recommendations? This is also a photo of them with looks like a pretty steep kind of hike situation. So just for those inquiring with different fitness levels, what would you recommend?
I think as long as you have no health issues, it's okay. The trip is fairly manageable. But I think the only strenuous hike during this trip would be to Paro Taksang. So for that trip, I would recommend, you have a certain level of fitness level, and you,
Mhm.
of course, please check in with your doctor, get his advice. But we've had many, I don't know if the people know this, but a lot of the demographics of the tourists that come to Bhutan are usually older.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
they've managed, a lot of our guests have managed climbing. And like I said, you can do only half the trip. But again, at Druk Heritage Stores, we're very flexible. So if you don't want to do any trip, or you think you can't manage, we can skip the particular activity that you don't want to do. Of course, I just want to mention, even going to Paro Taksang, we have pony porters, so you can ride a
Mhm.
pony to halfway point. That's also
Okay.
available if you want to see it, and but you can't walk, we offer that service as well. And and I think it's manageable because for the rest of the trip there isn't any strenuous hiking. There's a
Okay.
lot of walking, but I think if you have a a
Hmm.
standard fitness level, you could manage. But of
Okay.
course, I say that, but we live in with at that altitude. So if you're not used to, it might be. But we again, like I said, we've had many guests, older guests, elderly guests, and they've managed. So I think it should be okay. And for families,
Hmm.
I think it's good. It's nice for your children to be outdoors, connecting with nature. We have a lot of activities for the children that they enjoy. I know Larissa and her family enjoyed them
Hmm.
kayaking, the river rafting, I mean the rafting. So that's
Hmm.
fun. And you can also do biking around the town, city, or if you don't like it, because like I said, we don't have really big cities, it's just towns. But if you want to bike, we take you to little hilltops, they can bike. And if you're tired, usually we have a car that follows them. So you can get off and, get back on the car. So
Sure.
it's a lot of good activities for children if you like outdoor activities, especially.
Yeah. If you're an outdoorsy person, it looks like a paradise. Seriously. Absolutely incredible. Well, at Discover Core, we're really passionate about providing opportunities for local guides to share their passion and expertise and, you know, uh, tell our travelers more about their community. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Bhutanese guides that we use on this trip and how their insights can enhance the experience for the Discover Core traveler?
Okay, so the guide in the picture is Sonam. Yeah, I think Sonam was with Larissa and her family, and
Yeah,
al- all of our guides have to go through extensive training. So they learn, it's I think a few months program. They study the history, and a lot of them have experience over, I think, 2 decades of experience. And the guides with us on our team, they especially have handled groups like this, groups with families, elderly. So they're very patient, um, they understand their fitness level, they understand how they're feeling. So if they can sense, if they particularly, not interested, so we can suggest that they could skip their program. So a lot of them have, not a lot, all of them have very intensive um, trainings and experience, most importantly. So I couldn't answer some of the questions that guests ask because we don't study details. Like when I was with because we meet every group that comes to Bhutan, we meet them. So I know Larissa and her children had questions about the paintings on the wall, on the murals.
sure.
So I
Hmm.
didn't know details, and the guides, that's where they come in handy. Of course, I could ask answers. So the minute details, they know everything, and they're with you with the guest from the time you arrive to the time you leave. So that's the most
Hmm.
important part.
No, absolutely. No, it's they're like yeah, walking encyclopedias just with so much information and um yeah, just so many nuggets of great information that they can share and just having been from there and growing up there, I think it's just such an added benefit for anywhere that that you travel to with us. Um and so, you know, Bhutan is most famous for this philosophy with the, gross national happiness index and its approach to what has been called, low impact, high value tourism. So can you talk a little bit more about this philosophy for anyone who hasn't like explored that or known that about Bhutan and what makes Bhutan's approach so unique? Like you said, they're like on one of the only places in the world that operates like this.
Okay, so GNH was a philosophy that was coined by our fourth king, I think
Hmm.
around the 1970s, because he believed that at the time the only form of the measurement of development was GDP gross, as we all do. And he thought that that wasn't enough. He believed that development was much more than just GDP. It was more, happiness was more important. So that's how it came into being. So the way GNH operates is there's four pillars basically. So that's number one is sustainable economic development, conservation of environment, promotion of culture and protection of culture, and good governance. So it's guided
Mhm.
by these four pillars mainly. So in Bhutan, we have a GNH commission which sort of approves all the projects that the government takes on. So it makes sure,
Mhm.
okay, is it promoting culture? Is it,
Preserving nature, yeah.
preserving nature? Is it sustainable economic development, not just economic development at the price of what?
Right,
You know,
right.
at the price of the environment or the price of people. So that's why this low impact, high value tourism also came into play. When Bhutan first introduced tourism, I think around the 1974, His Majesty felt that it was important that we protect Bhutan's, again, going back to GNH, protecting the environment, protecting the people, protecting the culture. So that's why 65% of Bhutan's land is still covered in forests. We are I think, the only carbon negative country in the world because of our
Mm.
forest. So, we don't, if you come to Bhutan, you'll see mountains of green pine trees and, different,
Mhm.
different kinds of trees. And um, it's not overcrowded. At any point in time, you come to Bhutan, it's not like, I was said, I'm here in Bangkok and we took our children to see the sights here. And it's impossible to get a good picture, because there's hundreds and thousands of millions of tourist guests at any point in time, and you can't get a
Right.
picture. So it's not like that in Bhutan. We want to keep
Mhm.
numbers controlled. It's intentional, um, you know, um,
Intentional. Hmm. Hmm.
intentional uh, thing that we do. It's you walk around in Bhutan and you will not see uh, guests everywhere. You want to take a picture, you want to sit down and meditate, or you want to have a conversation, you can do that. You're not going to be disturbed by people. So I think that's how it came about being low impact, high value tourism. So you
Yeah.
control the numbers, but you have the positive impacts. So development still happens. Economic development has happened rapidly. I can see that as
Hmm.
see
I'm
myself,
sure.
child
Mhm.
and as an adult now, but it's very, it's the progress. It's very slow. Like I had internet when I first had access to internet when I was, I think, um, 16 years old. 16,
Okay.
you know.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think, and it's good because I think, like, even myself, I've studied abroad my whole life, but that sense of community, that sense of family, that well-being was always there. It was never a thought for me as a Bhutanese to, oh, I want to you know try living abroad and getting a job. I always knew that, okay, I'm going to finish university and I'm going to go back home.
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
think that GNH is essentially that. We are,
Mm.
we know what it means to be Bhutanese, that value of family, well-being, of connectedness. It's not one is not an individual, it's all of us.
So beautiful. No, and it's so so important. And I remember, like, I studied development and like critical development studies, and Bhutan was always kind of this case study of like how, how we can do it, or like a possible way forward, because there's um it's so important that we're not just putting value in only the economics, that we're actually evaluating, people's happiness and how that, and preservation of nature and culture and all of these amazing kind of indicators of what a sustainable society can look like, and an example for the world. So thank you for giving that context, and it's really inspiring to hear. I remember when I first started with Discover Core, one of the projects I was working on was kind of like building out festival experiences. At Discover Corp, we offer these like festivals around the world. But I remember in discussion with like the team, they were mentioning, in Bhutan, there's kind of like a lot of festivals already always going on. And if you look, there's celebrations of all different crops and different, of course, um, histories that you guys share. So would love to hear a little bit more about like Bhutanese festivals and if somebody might have the chance to witness one of these local festivals.
So the festivals, each locality has their own festival. So, like
Okay.
I said,
Hmm.
for this itinerary that we're speaking, so we have Punakha, Paro, and Thimphu, and each one
Hmm.
has their own festival, and you have your own festival dates, and mainly happens during spring, and for Thimphu,
Okay.
the capital, it happens in October. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, these festivals are a depiction of it's all religious, of course, all religion based. It's all based on Buddhism. So uh, we have most of these festivals are 3 days. So it's usually it's a depiction of afterlife. So what would happen to you? you know
Mm-hmm.
so then basically why these things happen and why it's taught is that for Bhutanese is that how we learn it is that in the afterlife, that when you see these dances and these sort of deities come to you, you should not be frightened, so you recognize them. So that's why we learn them, and you recognize their faces and their images, and they would guide you to where you would go. So a lot of these dances, these festivals are depictions of what would happen in the afterlife. So that's why these festivals happened, and most importantly, it's an opportunity for families to get together. Like you can see, there's hundreds of Bhutanese families there, and families would go with children, small children, infants.
Mm-hmm.
They go early in the morning because these festivals happen really early in the morning. If you want, of course, also get a good seating. So they start arriving like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and it's an opportunity for families to get together.
Sure.
They sit there, watch the dances. They have packed lunches, so everybody eats lunch together. They spend the day. So
So
again,
fun.
these festivals, I feel may have sort of originated from that purpose. Like in Buddhism,
Mm-hmm.
we always say that um, every practice that there is was a way to inculcate a specific value,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
specific teaching. It's so I feel like these festivals were an opportunity, and for families to get together, to have that bondage, to spend time together. So I think that what makes the festival now, I feel, more important. Now people are
Yeah.
getting here, there's more corporate jobs, more um, children have more things to do at school and everything, but so it's an opportunity for families. Like I go with my kids, and
Sure. Mm-hmm.
the time we spend together, and well, of course also learning is there as well.
Yeah, and instill like those values, like you say, that are at the core of, your culture and be able to have those discussions and to have those teachings and in such a beautiful and like colorful way. It looks amazing. Really, really beautiful. So I'm curious about Bhutanese food. I mean, it looks amazing from the pictures and from what I've learned about it, but can you tell everyone a little bit more about this, you know, uh, experience? And also in the itinerary, we do include a cooking class, so maybe you can speak to that as well.
Yes. So Bhutanese food is mainly very carb heavy because we're in the Himalayas, in the mountains. So traditionally we had to eat a very heavy carb diet. So we eat rice every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. But don't be worried, we have excellent bakers now. So there's any sort of bread, croissants available. So please don't be worried. And we don't offer you rice every meal, but there will be rice every meal if you want it as well. And we
Hmm.
eat a lot of potatoes and cheese. So I think that's a win, you know.
Hmm. Super, yeah, huge win.
Yeah. So, but essentially, Bhutanese diet is very carb heavy. We eat a lot of potatoes, a lot of chilies. We have every form of chilies. I
Yeah.
was thinking we should have like a chili museum. I think so,
Yeah.
I would want to do something like that because we have
to make it.
red chili, we have green chili, we have like dry chili, we have dried yellow chili, so
Mm,
blanched chili, all forms of chili, and we eat chili with everything. So
mm,
our children are introduced to chilies very early on, and we just love chilies. We eat chilies like just with salt, just from
it's
like how you
spicy.
pickles. They are like how you would
Yeah.
eat pickles. We eat chilies.
Wow.
We eat chilies just boiled in butter, just
Mm, that sounds
roasted.
good.
Yeah, so it's very it's an experience, and somehow I've had no complaints. The guests love eating Bhutanese food. They love it. I don't know.
Mm.
I think it's the cheese and the rice, but
Wins everyone over.
yeah, it wins everyone over. They love it, and but um, yeah,
The
I don't know.
cooking class as well. What about the
Oh yeah.
cooking class? Yeah.
So the cooking class is done by one of Bhutan's most renowned cook. So I think she even had a session with the late Anthony. Am I saying his name correct? Um, the famous TV show host. I forget his name.
Oh, Anthony Bourdain, really? Before he
Bourdain,
passed away?
yes, yes,
Wow, that's
yes,
amazing.
yes. So he
Yeah.
came to Bhutan just before he passed away, I think.
Wow.
So
Wow.
your cooking class will be with her. She will
Mm,
use all local organic ingredients. She will teach you, the different spices that we use, the different sort of food that we eat. Of course, some of the food that Bhutanese eat is borrowed from Tibetan. So we eat the
mhm.
dumpling. That's not original to Bhutanese, but we make
Yeah.
dumplings on the class. They will make look at all the different spices. We eat a lot of perilla seeds,
Mm,
eat
okay.
a lot of Szechuan pepper as well. So,
Wow, very
you
cool.
learn about how to use these spices in the different foods we eat. You'll cook the famous, kyawa dasi, which is basically the potato and the cheese, which all the children love because obviously it's potato and cheese.
No, that sounds so good, and I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. I feel like when I've a lot of our Discover trips also do include a cooking class, and it ends up being the most memorable part of the trip often for me and my husband because it's like there's something about that connection to like food, the place. It's like unforgettable. So I cannot wait to try all of the food and the chilies. I love spicy, so sounds wonderful. And in butter. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Um, so maybe you can speak quickly. We're coming up to time here, and I know we'll open it up for questions just for the last 10 or 15 minutes. But can you talk about kind of the best time to travel to Bhutan? I know you mentioned when we were on the call, just you and I, it's kind of cold there right now. So I'm curious kind of what the high season is for everyone and what you would suggest as some of the best months to go.
So, because if you want to specifically come for the festivals, like I said, spring and fall are the best dates.
Mhm,
And but
mhm,
now Bhutan doesn't have like of course there are high seasons, but summer is also excellent. It's
mhm,
very warm, in fact, a little hot as well. But we don't have humid weather in Bhutan. It's
mhm,
very sort of dry, hot, and but spring. I think if Americans are probably used to our cold weather. It's not as cold as in America.
mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah,
of course, you need a warm jacket for the mornings and for the evenings. But we have really, really, especially in winter and in spring, excellent clear weather. I mean, sunny weather, sunny
mm,
days. It's
nice.
cold only in the morning and the nighttime. But
Okay.
I would say Bhutan is all through the year destination.
Okay. Yeah, I know we have a group going out in April and yeah, October also sounds like a wonderful time to go. So, for anyone taking notes, those are some interesting times. Um, so we'll open it up to questions. I know I like to just highlight some of the typical go-to questions when it comes to like accommodations, how much we're moving around. This is directly taken from our travel portal, which I'll speak to in a second as well. but it breaks down kind of where you're going to be staying each night. So also, could you mention just the whole logistics of getting to Bhutan? We haven't covered that, and for anyone on the call, you spend your first night in Delhi, and that's because of the flights, and maybe you can speak to it a little bit, Singye.
Okay,
Hmm.
sorry, I forgot to say that. So the
That's okay.
first night, we always recommend the guests to stay a night in Delhi because the connecting flights happen really early in the morning. So, the time difference. So the first day you fly into Paro, that's where the airport is, and you transit straight into Thimphu. That's the capital city. You'll spend, I think, 3 nights there, and then we move to Punakha, and another 2 nights in Punakha, and then you move to Pobjika Valley. I think it's a night there in Pobjika Valley. Pobjika Valley is very beautiful because it's very wide. It's where you
Mm,
spot the black-necked cranes. You see them only in Pobjika. And then
okay.
you're back to Paro for your last, I think, 3 nights in Paro.
Yeah, so
And
just for everyone here as well, I think and it's kind of written here as well. It's just one night in Delhi, and then it's nights 2 to 3 in Thimphu, and then yeah, it's just one night. We kind of move around one night, and then the last 2 nights in Paro to bring it up to nine days. What were you gonna say though, Singji?
But the travel time is very little. In Bhutan, anywhere you travel, like Paro to Thimphu is an hour's drive, so it's nothing for you guys.
Yeah,
The commute
yeah,
is not
that's a
long. I
great
think the
point.
longest would be just 2.5 hours max.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question actually when it comes to drive time. So, we already spoke a little bit about best time to travel. Whoops. But I just love to mention that there's a lot of coordination that goes into getting to Bhutan, especially with those flights from Delhi and bringing you in. So if you are considering a trip, like this is often a trip that people book at least 6 to 8 months in advance, if not more. So if you really want to go and you have a date in mind, like please let us know. It's also a trip that we need a minimum to run number, and so we'd like to group people together. And of course, we can always speak to the demographic. And we still do small group travel, so you'll still have that intimacy. But for anyone that's on the call that is really seriously considering this as a destination, please let us know. The earlier the better, so that we can get all of those moving pieces in place for you. Um, I also just want to speak to the pre-departure support that you'll have. So I know we have some alumni on the call, and this might be redundant information for you, but for those new to Discover Core, we have this wonderful travel portal directory, which includes, all of the destinations. You can see Bhutan here. You could click there. You can see, a packing list, an amazing kind of recommended before traveling to Bhutan list that Singji and her husband have put together for us, along with all other details, including the visas that you'll need to get. You'll need to have a multi-entry visa um, for India as well. And so we go over all of that information. And additionally, you're given a pre-departure coordinator, who in this case, her name is Jenny, and she handles all travelers going to Bhutan. So she's preparing you all together, communicating with all of you with up-to-date information so that you can travel with ease and have a really great pre-departure checklist before you go. And so just to kind of go over what's all included, you can always expect on our trips a local bilingual guide. This is the same guide throughout the whole trip. And then, of course, we have these sort of step-on guides that might come to do certain experiences like the cooking class. And then additionally, all of our lodging is 3 to 5 star. As you can see in some of the photos, I would really consider this on the higher end, 4 and 5 for Bhutan. Additionally, all meals and clean drinkable water on the trip is included, especially for this experience. Some of our itineraries have maybe 1 or 2 meals that aren't included, but for this trip, all are. Additionally, comfortable and reliable transportation, any sort of entrance fees or anything that's included in the itinerary, of course. Sometimes there are, if you want to do certain experiences, those might be extra. But for anything advertised in the itinerary, you can expect is included. And then we also include medical insurance. So what's not included is your flights, of course, to get you internationally to and from Delhi. Traveler's insurance, of course, any visas, any required vaccinations, which there's no required vaccinations for entry for this destination. And then, of course, any tipping, laundry service, etc. And we go through the tipping guidelines on our travel portal for you as well. Um, so if we don't get to your question, I'm going to start opening it up. If anyone can feel free to type in. But if we don't get to your question or you have additional questions when you go to sleep but tonight and you're like, oh, I should ask this, please write down this email. It goes directly to me and my colleague Angela, so we will monitor that and get back to you as soon as possible. Um, so I know right away there was a question from one of our alum about just what is done on day 2 and 3. So I'm gonna pull up this kind of brief overview of the 9-day trip. So technically, day 1, you're arriving in New Delhi and you're going to relax at a 5-star hotel before you depart your journey to Bhutan. Then on day 2, and this is very high level, the itinerary includes a lot more details, so feel free to reference this. But just to make it efficient, day 2, we're going to take that 2.5-hour flight to Bhutan. Like Singye mentioned, it's early in the morning, so that you can explore Thimphu's art scene, everything, get oriented, enjoy, of course, a nice welcome dinner and meet your guide, etc. And then on D3, we're going to visit one of the giant Buddhas. We're going to venture to the Gross National Happiness Center, which is that kind of cool behind the scenes opportunity. And of course, continue to explore. So there's a lot more than that, but this is just like the high level, just to give you a quick answer there. And one of our alumni is just asking what if there's any sort of volunteer activities involved. So you mentioned our opportunity to visit a school. Can you speak a little bit more about that experience, perhaps, Singji?
Yeah, so that we've the way we've organized it is that it happens in Pobjika because it's a community school. So you feel in the town you have many other activities to do. So in
Hmm.
Pobjika, you can visit a community school, you can volunteer. We've had some guests where they volunteer to maybe donate a certain equipment that they need or anything, or they can volunteer to, I don't know, they could come back to teach, I guess, if they want. Or during the trip, what happens is you interact with the teachers and the students there, so you can volunteer at that. During the time, what we take is like little pencils or coloring books for the children, so you could volunteer in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the gifting kind of recommendations or donation recommendations to give so that you can, come with some resources to share.
Mm.
Somebody is mentioning just food here. They say they eat a plant-based diet. Would that be difficult to accommodate?
No, I think I think that's manageable, plant-based, but is it also no, I think we have lots of good fresh vegetables, like good mushroom and
Mhm.
asparagus. So I think that's fine. We've had some guests with certain restrictions, and I think we can manage.
Okay, yeah, and for that person, just if you want to give us a little bit more details and information and what you're kind of like, uh, what you would expect, or to give us some more details that we can send to Singji and her team, we
Mhm.
can do a little bit more due diligence in making sure that that you're well fed when you're on the trip with us. Um, Somebody's just asking, like, how expensive is it when there? Like, if somebody were to, I don't know, maybe go buy a coffee or buy some souvenirs, is it quite expensive in relativity? I know this trip for many people is a big investment. It's not the most affordable place to visit for this
Mhm.
idea of having, more of a low impact tourism.
Mhm.
Um, but what about just day-to-day kind of like meals if somebody were to grab something on their own?
Like you mentioned, I think in the trip everything is included.
Included.
So
Mhm.
like a cup of coffee, an extra cup of coffee, or you want to buy something, I think it's fairly reasonable.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's affordable. It's unless you, like you said, you want to do a very specific special experience, then
Right.
But otherwise, I think it's covered.
Yeah, wonderful. And yeah, I think we built it for this reason as well, just to really take the load off of people where it's like everything is included for you and you don't need to worry. too much. So that's wonderful. Um, Now somebody's asking if Tiger's Nest is like a wonder of the world. I don't think it is, but it does. It's wonderful, but maybe I'm wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It is
Okay.
not. But
Yeah,
but I
I
think
did think so.
it's
In its
different
own way, it is.
in its
In
own
its
way.
own. Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, I don't know if anyone has any other questions. We're about at the top of the hour here, so please, if anyone has any urgent ones, you can type it in the chat. But um, I'm just, I think for many people, Bhutan is kind of this enigma or this kind of like just location where they have so many questions and curiosities and everything. And I think you've just done an amazing job to kind of transport us there. And every time I talk to you or your husband, I'm just like amazed with um such a such a beautiful place and culture and people, and I really am inspired to go there myself. And thank you for taking the time. I know you're on a family vacation right now, so we really appreciate you sharing. And hopefully this inspires a few people on the call to visit your country and to explore more and get to really experience it, because it's one thing to talk about it, another thing to live it and see it on the ground, and experience that fresh air like you were talking about. Let me just see here. I think we might have. Oh, sorry. I misunderstood the question. Is Tiger's Nest a Buddhist Wat, like W-A-T? I don't know
What?
what Wat is, though. Am I uncultured? I don't know what Wat is. Do you
I,
mind,
I
Gary,
look at
telling us what you're meaning? Sorry. Buddhist Wat. And here I am looking it up.
oh, I don't know whether he means that. It's
Oh,
a Buddhist
A Buddhist
temple.
place of worship.
Yes,
Maybe.
yes,
Yes. Okay. A version of a church. Okay. Is Tiger's Nest like basically a version of the church is what he's asking.
yes. Yes,
Yes.
of course. All monasteries, all temples in Bhutan is. It's a place of
hmm
worship.
Yes. One of the most, like you said, like sacred places
Bhutan,
in all of.
yes.
Beautiful. No, thank you so much. Well, we're just at the top of the hour. I know everyone, I'm sure they have things to do. I'm gonna go have dinner with my family and wrap up for the day, but I really appreciate you and enjoy the rest of your time in Bangkok, and hope you get home safely and sound. And thank you so much, Singye. And if you ever want to come to Costa Rica and explore the tropical mountains over here, I also live in a pretty kind of rural area and more known for rafting as well. So if you want to come explore here, please come visit.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you. Thank you for
No,
having me
no, thank you.
talk about my country and speak a little bit about it. Thank you so much. I hope you visit Bhutan. It's truly a beautiful country. You know, me talking about it doesn't do justice. You just have to.
No,
And please do visit Bhutan, Lynn, yourself. I've been inviting Alex and Jenny for years now.
yeah.
So
Hey, I will I'll bother Alex after this. I'm sold. You don't have to sell me anymore.
he said that the Discover Corp retreat could happen next. So fingers
Ah,
crossed.
okay, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. I'll hold him to it. All right, have a wonderful morning and rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.